What is good, everybody? Today's video is essentially going to be me picking up where I last left off with the last video. And if you didn't know what the last video was, I was working on my project drift Jeep, which I wasn't 100% sure if I was even going to do in the first place, but seeing a lot of the comments and people coming up to me saying, hey, that's a really cool idea, I've never seen a Jeep drift, why not do it? And it kind of encouraged me to pick up where I last left off. And essentially, if you guys don't know, I'm about to show you guys what all I did in the last video with a brief recap. So let me do that real quick. Alright guys, so this is Project Drift Jeep, and it is really a hammered up Jeep. No title, no nothing. Essentially, it was going to be a parts Jeep for this Jeep, and this Jeep is essentially going a different route with this one. And I'm going to do more on that probably here in the next year. But right now, we're not worried about that. I'm more worried on this guy. And this guy, what we did in the last video was essentially get it running but not driving, and I'm gonna try to get it driving hopefully here. But what we also did was the lower brake caliper on this one here was the piston shot out of the caliper itself, so we swapped it out with the two-wheel drive. And essentially, like I said, we got it running. And then the only other thing that we did was tear out the whole entire dash. Now all the wiring is over here that's needed. The stuff that I don't need is all over there. It is has a puddle actually, so we'll have to see where it's leaking, fix it. If not, oh well, who cares? It is just a drift car. Now, as stated, I am going to be lowering this Jeep today. My whole goal essentially is to remove the front springs, and then for the rear end put it over the leaf springs. That should give me at least hopefully about a 3-4 inch drop. If I want to go lower though, I might have to look at other options. I'm not 100% sure just yet, but let me show you guys what I'm talking about here. Now essentially, what I'm going to do for the front axle is remove these springs to see where it sits at roughly. I'm not 100% sure. I might have to get tinier springs for this to at least keep the springs, and maybe a different bump stop and get like something aftermarket. I have been looking into it, but I'm not 100% sure. These wheels actually, by the way, are a perfect size. The rears aren't terrible. They're a little too big for my liking, but these guys for the front I think are perfect. Now, back here in the rear axle, if you guys can see, right there's the leaf spring, and then you got the axle itself, and you can see I'm hoping to remove the U-bolt right there, and then just remove the whole entire axle and flip it upwards and above that leaf spring. I don't know exactly if it'll work or if it'll need any modifications whatsoever. I would assume so, but we're going to find that out here real quick in just a couple matter of minutes. Alright, so right off the rip, that thing, I mean, I can barely put my fingers in there. Well, I can put my hand in there, but there's like maybe a little bit. I mean, that thing lowered the hell out of it already. I'm not sure what it looks like with the four-wheel drive system. Let's take a look. All right, I don't know if you guys can see it at all, but it is right on the bump stop. So there's the bump stop. There's the axle right there. It's bump stop as well. That thing is on it. So we might have to at least maybe cut a spring or test one of the springs that I cut. Either that or take it off the two-wheel drive and cut one to the proper size to fit right up and in there. But this thing is super, super low. Just to give an idea of how low it is, I mean, it's low. It's very, very low. There's like little to no room. But it does kind of look good. I kind of like it already. I kind of like it. The tiny wheel, it kind of looks good already. So let's go do that other side real quick. Kind of even it out here real well. Just before I cut this spring off, I just want to realize, look at the flex on this thing. This thing ain't even off the ground. Actually, the rear tires are off the ground. Like, look at the flex. Just because of this one spring right here. Oh my days. That is crazy. Look at the flex. Just because of one spring cut, the flex on this thing is crazy. That is insane to me. All right, let's cut this spring. Alright, I just hacked out the spring. There's no spring there. I'm about to lower this and see what we come up with. Last time to look at the flex, that is freaking insane for a Jeep, especially with bone stock stuff. And the fact that it's only off about an inch on that side, so that's crazy. But let's drop this thing real quick and see what she sits. Come on. Damn, okay. Well, she just dropped right away. That's fine by me. This side isn't as much. There's a lot more gap on this side, but it could just because the fender's more fucked up. But she's low. I mean, that thing is low to the ground. That's probably the lowest you'll ever see a Jeep. I kind of like it that way, actually. Might run it just on the bump stops. I'll probably blow through those anyway. I might just install those springs I just cut, but damn. Let's check out the other side too. Now that's more evened out. Okay, so yeah. The other side, so with it more evened out now, you can see a difference. So there's probably about, at least I'd say another inch difference there. And that's actually a lot better. I was a bit worried with that little inch of a difference. That's almost 2 inches now. And that sits. That sits really good. I mean, that's what it would look like versus what it does look like. I mean, hell of a difference, hell of a difference. Now I just gotta knock out this rear and see where it really, really sits. But damn. I'm sorry, I can't get over it, but I'm like, every time, the more I work on it, the more I'm like, wow, this is gonna be fun. Like, this is gonna be super fun, guys. I can't wait. I really can't. Sheesh, that looks so damn good. I'm sorry, I'm so mesmerized by the way it looks right now. I mean, I know it's hammered and beat up, but damn, it's gonna be a fun car. All right, let's work on that rear axle as well. Alright guys, so sun setting. I think I'm gonna call it a day for today. Pick it up first thing tomorrow morning. So essentially, obviously got the front up done. This bolt, I was lucky enough. Usually on most Jeeps, if you know, when you're swapping your leaf springs, this bolt is known to break or very rusted. This bolt, I was lucky. The other side, not so much. Got the U-bolts off. Just got to get the shocks off of this guy. And I think what I'm going to do is hack out, I don't know if it'll show, yeah. So hack out this guy right here and then kind of swap it to go up and underneath, and that way it sits flush right here. And then I can still use the U-bolts, and then all I gotta do is swap my U-bolts to where instead of the bolts going right here, they'll go underneath, and then just put this guy up and above. And then obviously I'm gonna remove this shackle that came with the Jeep. I'm probably gonna save this guy because I can still use this on a couple of other Jeeps, and honestly this will probably lower it a good chunk too as well, because that's a good amount there to lift. Maybe should have tried that first, I don't know. Still gonna do this though, to put it up there, that way it sits even lower to get max low, I guess is the word I'm looking for. On this side, like I said, I had to sand that bolt down. You can even see it right there. I don't know if it'll focus properly. So yeah, you can see I had to sand it down a little bit right there. It's having a hard time focusing. But I had to sand this bolt completely down. No biggie, I'm not worried about it. I'm gonna have to use different bolts. Still got the same thing over here as well. Just gonna have to take this guy off. That'll shorten it up quite a bit actually, and probably lower this even more than what it needs to be, or at least go back to factory. But we're still wanting to get this as low as possible, and as low as possible is going to be putting this guy up above this guy right here. That's what we'll work on tomorrow, is doing this. I said with the sun going down and everything like that. Yeah. All right guys, so it's day 2. I've been working on this axle for a good minute. Essentially what we did was hacked out these bottom mounts here and then installed them up backwards essentially. And so I've been working on that for at least a good minute. I'd say it's like 1 o'clock. I've been doing it since 8 o'clock. But we took the axle out, all that stuff, super easy. All it was just the U-bolts here, U-bolts on that side, and then just the bolts for the shocks, and you're good to go. Now I'm gonna reinstall this here, and pretty much all I'm gonna do is just slide this axle through there. So yeah, let's do that. All right, so with the drift Jeep, I cannot get that bolt in at all. That thing is a pain in the ass. Right now, the sun's about to go down and it's getting really dark out. So for the time being, that screwdriver is gonna stay in there. It's not permanent, I promise. It's getting late. This thing here, I have to get longer U-bolts for. The U-bolts that I have now do not fit at all. And so this guy doesn't even come close to threading. I have these temporarily threaded. The shocks. Honestly, the shocks, I mean, I got, I'd say at least an inch of room up and in between there. Yeah, I'd say about an inch of room. It doesn't sit too bad, though it is a pain in the butt, and I probably got to redo some things. But I haven't even bothered putting the U-bolts on this side at all. It is blurry. So yeah, I didn't even bother putting the U-bolts on it this side at all. I'm just going to put wheels on it, drop it. Trying to see if this is what I want, or if I'm going to reinstall the drop shackle here because it's a lot easier, and then just put it at the lowest setting possible and see what we get with that. I don't think the wheels are going to fit this, but we're about to find out real quick here. I gotta say, that thing is super low. Now the sun is coming down, so I am losing daylight faster than I can talk at the moment. But guys, this thing looks amazing lowered. I mean, just to a comparison, the black Jeep in the background, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but I mean, it sits, I'd say 4 or 5 inches higher. And then that one, I think only has a 3-inch lift. But I mean, it is so low to the ground. Now, again, I do got to fix the rear. I've only temporarily installed it. But just to finish up this video, I decided to, for the time being, lower it on its own weight. It should be okay. Hopefully that screwdriver in the background holds up. If not, is what it is, just a cheapo. But I mean, look at that. I mean, that is amazing looking, lowered. And like I said, we got baby wheels back here, or in the front. And I like those. Now I'd like to get a set, but honestly I kind of like the thicker tires. Now you can see the tires aren't like installed properly. None of this is installed properly, so it does have a little bit of poke fitment. We might have to get a thinner tire, but I mean, there's no room for error right there, that's for damn sure. And I mean, look how low it is. That's, I mean, a couple inches off the ground, or I wouldn't say a couple, but you know what I mean. I mean, just for an example, there it is without the sunlight as bad. My camera's having a hard time focusing, but the front actually surprisingly sits higher. So we might install the drop shackles just for easiness for us, just to kind of get an even weight balance. But I mean, wow, that is crazy looking. Now my face is very dirty. Like I said, I've been working on this all day, especially that rear axle. I didn't really record any of it just because of how time consuming it really was. I mean, didn't probably finish it up until 1 o'clock, and I still haven't even finished it 100%. Now, the next thing I'm going to be working on, probably in the next video, is getting the brakes hooked up. Now, I had to dislocate the brakes on this and everything like that, and I didn't want to, but to get the brackets off, I had to hack them off, and the brake lines were in the way, so I had to remove them and broke one, which is okay. I have to make new ones anyway for the whole entire car. But I think entirely for the next video, at least the next step for this car, is to get it running and driving. It does run, it doesn't drive at the moment. Now, I will be going to the junkyard, and I'll probably be making a separate video on going to the junkyard and seeing what's up there. Hopefully I can find an AX15 two-wheel drive manual transmission. That'd be great, because that's what I'm kind of going for this car. And that way we can get rid of all the four-wheel drive on this, which is, like I said, ironic because most people do the 4x4 swap from a two-wheel drive to a 4x4, but again, it's a drift Jeep, so we need the two-wheel drive. But I think that's going to wrap it up for today's video, guys. Honestly, it was a lot, and I'm kind of happy with the results that I've seen on this Jeep. I mean, the more I work on it, the more I'm like, wow, this is going to be a drift Jeep. This is going to be super fun. But yeah, like I said, next video is definitely going to be me trying to get this thing running and driving and on the road. And yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up for today's video. Let me know in the comments, what do you guys think I should do next? Should I do a hydro? Definitely got to do the brakes, so why shouldn't I do the hydro next? But with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video.